What's going on, my friends? This is Jack, and welcome to It Pays to Write, a show where we break down simple writing skills and systems that can help you build digital leverage and level up in your career, business, personal brand, and more. Whether you're a remote 9-to-5er, freelancer, founder, or aspiring writer, we've got something here for you. Let's dive in. Our guest today is talented writer, ahead of the curve dude, and all hats wearing marketer, the fabulous Matt Herman. Matt is a content marketing expert at Aeroseal, which is a super cool climate tech company. He's also an AI warlock and a talented creative songwriter as well. I'm super excited to bring Matt on today because we actually started working together in a professional capacity just over a year ago and have since become friends. Now we talk writing shop, AI, and marketing tactics on a weekly basis. Today, Matt and I are going to cover actionable AI use cases in content writing and marketing, how to build smarter workflows and systems with AI projects and custom GPTs, how Matt turned his AI into his personal life coach, which is a favorite of mine, what creativity looks like in the age of artificial intelligence, how to literally use your voice to get better results 10 times faster with your AI tools, and lastly, if anybody really knows where the future is going with AI. So if you want to take your AI and writing skills to the next level and you're interested in any of those topics I just covered, you're going to want to stick around and enjoy this one. So, hey, everybody, this is my good friend, Matt Herman. Matt, like me, is a fellow AI nerd, and we talk about this a lot on the side of work and within work as well. So everybody say hey to Matt. And Matt, I think we've got a lot of fun things that you and I are going to unpack today. We've already had a lot of great conversations about AI as a preface. Like, you're doing some very cool things with this, both in and outside of work. I think this could be really beneficial for a lot of different people, whether they're new users to the tools and they just heard about ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, all of these different models, or they've been in it for a while. And the first thing I wanted to ask you is just tell us a little bit about you and your work and maybe some of your creative background and some projects you've worked on and stuff, so people have some context of who Matt is and why Matt is as awesome as he is.
Yeah, I get a lot of excitement doing a lot of different things. I've been in a lot of different careers. I've been in news. I've been in the business community, and now I am writing content at Aeroseal, which is a cool climate tech company saving energy by making buildings more efficient by sealing air leaks. And one thing that's kind of always had a common denominator is writing and speaking and just basically creative thinking. And so that's what really drew me to AI, because it just allowed me to have such a wider scope of thought, of inspiration, and someone to double check my work and be like, hey, maybe add this here.
100%, man. And tell me a little bit more about, because I know a little bit about this, but I want everybody else to know too. Tell me about your background in writing, because I think writers have a really unique and interesting and nuanced take of how to interact with these tools and use them. Tell me a little bit about your background as a writer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a communications degree, so I can communicate, which is convenient. Um, I was a film major too. That involved a lot of writing. I worked in news, which is where I honed how to write quick and snappy, because you would have 10 seconds to either tell a story or tease something. You'd have 5 seconds to tease something. So like, coming up, why this is that. And then it's always like, you gotta work quick. So that really trained me into writing quick, snappy headlines, or for like ad materials too. I'll write a lot of our ads. It's not a main part of my job, but I will help out and add and write short ads that can, catch your attention and get the point across quickly.
That's awesome, man. And in like a marketing or advertising or just online context in general, what is your favorite way that you write for work and then for yourself too?
Um, I'll answer that question by saying this, because I will choose what direction I want to go in, Jack. I think with AI, the secret to using that and the way I like to write is context, context, context. So those who can write will already be better writing with AI, because I know just in the general AI conversation, people always say the basics like, yeah, if you just put in a small prompt, you will get a small prompt back. That's pretty basic in the AI community conversations, but I'd like to add on to that and say, people who can write and can communicate well are able to anthropomorphize the AI and give it like context. So just like, I like to think of it as if I'm telling someone a story, like what they need to know in the background. And even though I may have the like assignment written out, like, hey, I need this with this type of stuff, going this direction. But if I don't be like, well, someone told me to do this because they really want this motive involved. So that changes everything, right? Because now I'm not just giving the instructions, but I'm giving the context of why someone told me to write that to begin with.
Yeah, man. And context is everything. And I don't think that can be stated enough, especially with AI, because, and dude, we could get into a whole thread about this too. I read this really interesting post by someone yesterday, and I think you'll agree with this. And I would love to hear what you have to say. And this woman was talking about the different ways that she uses Google search now versus ChatGPT. And the
Yeah.
number one thing she said is exactly what you did. She said she'll go to Google and it'll be a short query. It'll be like a few words. It'll be, pretty purchase oriented, kind of like low funnel, since you and I are both in marketing,
Yeah.
and writing. Whereas when she's speaking to one of the AI models like Claude or ChatGPT, there's a lot of context. There might be like 2 or 3 sentences. There might be a full paragraph. Somebody might be copy and pasting in a 400 word, like Mad Lib style template that you're filling out yourself. So I think you're spot on, man. Like it needs so much more contents than just like the solution based question answer kind of Google we're dealing with. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think a lot about that. I think context is key. I recently got this is what I've been like preaching to people lately, teaching the gospel of what a shower filter will do for your shower. I got one in between my shower head and the water spout that comes into it. They're universal. And man, when I get out of the shower now, I feel so good. My skin is soft, my hair is fluffy. Because you got all that chlorine and fluoride and heavy metals in the water, minerals. And I found that by having explaining my need and searching for things. I just give me the best one. And it's able to provide all this context of what I'm looking for via search. So where I could have wasted some time in Google, I was able to solve my issue real quick and get beautiful skin.
It's amazing. You look great on camera, Matt. Your hair always looks great too, man. I don't need to tell you that.
Oh, thanks, man.
I got you, dude. So I want to jump back, and then I want to come back to how you're using some of these searches to find real solutions, like you are with this like showerhead and what you wrote.
Yeah.
But first, I want to learn, how did you first hear about these AI tools? Like what was going on at the time? Around what time was it? Like what was the context? What did you think? What was going through your mind?
I think it was 3.0, GPT 3.0 that I first got into AI. Um, Maybe 2, 3 years ago. My colleague, his name is Jelani. Uh, he was talking about it. It's like, man, have you seen this? Like, you can write an ebook with it. And he was telling about the use cases. And I had a pretty heavy load of writing material at the time. And so once I hopped on it, I was like, okay, I am solving a lot of issues real quick. Now I will say this, man. I am a little insecure about this, but I am a very slow typer. I never really learned how to type the right way, so like it would kill me in time crunches. So working in news and under deadlines for articles and stuff. Like I just know if I were not a sucky typer, that I would have gotten way further in life. But thankfully, AI exists now that I can like sort of resolve that issue, and my typing can be for edits and tweaks versus having to do the whole prose.
Yeah, dude, that makes total sense. And I was going to ask you too. This is something I've seen as a change in myself and my own writing habits too. Like, I can totally empathize with you. I think there are a lot of people in our generation who didn't like have a typing class to learn how to type
Yeah,
the right way, or their parents taught them like the peck type method.
yeah,
There's still a lot of us out there. But one thing I wanted to ask you is, do you find yourself speaking to AI more than writing to it these days? Because I know I am. Like, I'll open
yeah.
up a project, and instead of typing it out, which I used to, I've found that that's gotten cumbersome. And it's a lot more naturally for me to just hit that audio button, speak it into it. The transcription is amazing, and then just hit go. Are you finding that you're using that a lot more?
Yeah, but let me ask you this question. First of all,
Sure.
yes, it is way easier to turn that on. I just did that right before this conversation about something else, and I put little pictures in it as problem solving. But let me ask you this: do you use the enhanced voice feature, ChatGPT?
After you recommended it to me, I did. I would, because I think we've talked about this before. I'll take like nightly walks.
Yeah.
And I opened up, I think it was right after a conversation you and I had had, and I went on a walk and I opened up Enhanced Voice and I started talking to the thing and I was like, man, this is a really wild experience. And I feel like it's gotten even better since you first told me like a couple months ago
Yeah.
to test it out. I find myself using the transcription more. I don't know why. I think there's something about speaking it and then seeing what I said there before I
Yeah.
hit send. But there is something really natural. So do you find yourself using the voice interactive service that they have a lot more?
I use all three: the prompt in, the
Mhm,
voice to text, and then the advanced voice. I use advanced voice for my personal stuff, and I need to talk something out. I'll throw it on when I'm driving,
mhm.
and then I'll just be driving and talking to like a little robot, and it's way smarter than anybody I know. So, and that's one thing too. Is like just the culture we live in, and like digital products. People are like, oh, I don't want to pay $20 a month, but it's like, okay, all the knowledge in the I can give you all the knowledge in the world. If someone came to me like 20 years ago and said, I can give you everything that's ever been written ever in the world, all science, and it will cost you $20 a month, you'd be like, oh, hell yeah, you know? But
Yeah, of
like,
course. I'm all about it. Yeah.
yeah. But no, that's a problem for some people paying the $20 a month. But man, it is useful just to throw on that advanced voice feature and talk to it, and just like
Mhm,
you're having a real conversation, especially like when you're driving and you can't be like typing in and stuff like that. And I didn't realize when I was in France last month, I was hanging out with some guys, and he was saying that you can actually, because you can choose what kind of voice you want. There's
mhm.
like Vale, and she's British, and things like that. But you can actually tell it what accent to have on top of that. And I didn't even know that that was a thing. Like it asked it to do an Irish accent on top of that, or like a Southern accent, and all of a sudden it just adapted to it. And I did not expect that to happen.
Whoa. So from the moment you asked it to change the accent forward,
Yeah.
it like saved in the memory or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, hey, I'm gonna speak to Matt in this accent. That's
Yeah, then it
crazy.
starts talking to you. I just thought you had to choose. I was already impressed by the amount of diversity in the voices, let
Yeah.
alone like it can adjust to what you want to do. So it's wild, man.
That is wild. And dude, like, okay, so this is something I wanted to ask you about too, because you brought up using the advanced voice when you're in the car.
Yeah.
What are your primary use cases? So like you're jumping in a car ride. I'm assuming you have an idea about something. What are the things that you're typically hashing out with advanced voice, like when you're in
Yeah.
a car ride? Like recent examples, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, so I'm in an Irish band, and
Yeah, you are.
uh and I wrote a story song. I've always wanted to write like a long story song, you know. And so
Mhm,
I came up with one that I really liked, and uh I'm really good at writing songs like quickly, like quick catchy ones.
mhm.
Especially with Irish music, 'cause it's like you kind of know the pattern, and you always kind of want to like lead people and lift them up on the right chords and make everybody happy and swing glasses and stuff. But when you're writing a story song, it's different because you have um, this amount of real estate
Mhm.
and this rhyme structure, and you have to not waste time to get from one thing to another. And so I'm like trying to think of other ways to resolve things. So I'm asking about that, like, oh, what could rhyme with this? And I'm just driving and singing, and then I'll, play it back again and ask it, what about this? And so that's one thing that I do. And also to solve all my many problems that I have put on myself in my life as well. I know you know where I'm going with this, so I'll let you lead into that question.
Yeah, so one of the coolest things that you told me, which also cracked me up when I misattributed it recently, because I got excited to you about like it was some idea of my own, and you told me 2 months prior you didn't do it. So that's my bad. That's on me. But one of the coolest things you told me when I asked you about use cases is you said that you were using it as your therapist and life coach. And
Yeah.
dude, this kind of ties back into what you were saying of I can't believe people don't want to bite on $20 a month. I would gladly cancel Netflix, HBO, Prime, like whatever to get access to this kind of superpower where you can have in your pocket something that's helping you write an Irish like folk story song and also is your full-time therapist where like dude, an hour of therapy can cost 100, 150, 200,
Yeah.
$300 and you're paying $20 a month for access to something like you said has access to all like history of therapy, modalities of therapy, books, resources, articles, experts, processes, all of this stuff. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how you stumbled on this whole use case of, therapist, life coach, Matt's personal like life assistant. How did you stumble onto that?
Yeah, so I was still fairly new to my job at the time, and I learned how to make custom GPTs, which is kind of like my platform right now, as far as like what you're not knowing about AI and what you're leaving on the table. You do need to pay 20 bucks to have this 20 bucks a month to have this feature. So, FYI, I'll get it. Yeah, use promo code Matt to save 10% on ChatGPT. No.
I was just waiting for you to drop that in there.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, that affiliate marketing link. But you can create custom GPTs, and so a lot of people right now, as we're definitely experiencing a boom as far as like mass adoption of ChatGPT and other AI tools. And so people are already using it for therapy. I'm not groundbreaking anything right now to tell you that you can use it for therapy. But what I did back in the day, like, like maybe a year ago, is I learned how to make custom GPTs. So I have one for work, which I can talk about, but for my life coach and my guy, I call it the Matt Guide, is what I made. And I was able to go in the back end. And what's great about custom GPTs is it's not programming with numbers and HTML coding and things like that. It's all language based. So if you know how to use language, then you can go in there. And I was able to go in there. I was able to describe who I was. I was able to upload personality tests and like my strengths finder tests. I was able to upload all that information. It knows my goals, my challenges, where I'm currently in life, and how to talk to me. And so as opposed to using like just opening up a new window in ChatGPT 4, you can um, have something that already knows you. And yes, with the memory function in ChatGPT and other tools, it's getting better at picking up on that. So, and now recently I saw that they can access other windows. Before it was just like new prompt who dis, like a totally different, like uh self-contained
Yeah, it
bots. But
wasn't
now they
pulling your
can,
memory from all your different chat threads.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so um but having it know who you are already with that context is a game changer. And like sometimes, if I needed something quick, I'll throw it in on the new prompt and without out the box chat gpt, and it's so disappointing. It starts talking to me like a robot, and like but when I go on, to mine, it starts like cursing and using slang. It uses the word vibes a lot, which I just think is hilarious. But it's yeah, but it knows that I am a type of guy who lives for excitement and nuance and novelty. But then the challenge of that is like stability, and when that's conflicting with things that I want, like, and so it knows that about me. It knows my life paradigm, and it helps keep me centered, and it will like say this and then reference like stuff about me so I can understand. And man, it's pretty cool. And I would just, I'll end this long monologue on this, and I'll say
No, keep
that
going, man. We got time. This is great. Yeah.
um you talked about the therapist and having to pay and how much they cost. Yes, huge, especially
Mhm.
in when mental health is underlooked, and insurance is not fun for therapy. I'm not sure if you tried to get a therapist on insurance recently, but it is a pain in the ass.
Mhm.
So I think besides just the ability for it to be affordable, the immediate answer. Like I can't just call my therapist up and be like, "Hey, yo, whatever you're doing, I got problems," Like,
Mhm.
but you have somebody at your side at any moment. And then one of the biggest things for me this year, as far as like my confidence improving, having this tool for a while now, is you have that feedback. Like, and so when really, if you go to a therapy session, if you go once a week or once a month or something like that, or life coach, you would have to, maybe write out what you want to talk about. You got like an hour to talk about it. Then you do that again. But with that feedback, you start to learn like what what's the best direction to go into. And so you don't have the lack of confidence in making that decision anymore because you've had enough time with something to let you know, like, yes, things in this sort of realm are the right sorts of decisions you need to be making. And even though that was painful to do, it was still correct. And, you're feeling natural pain and natural guilt. But like what you ultimately did was the best thing. And to
Mm.
have that validation from it, letting you know that, okay, yes, this is uncomfortable, but I'm doing what I need to be doing. Next time a similar situation comes around, you already know, like, oh, hey, this is kind of the direction I need to take this, because it's been positively, what do you call it when the Pavlov's dogs conditioned?
Oh yeah, when the bell rings.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still missing the word,
Oh
but yeah,
yeah.
you get
Something conditioning.
it's positive and negative, like
Yes, 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 yes.
whatever that word is.
Yeah, yeah. I got
That,
you. I got you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's huge. I think that's huge for humanity, just in general, to have that sort of a tool. And so, yeah, man, it's quite the ride. I'll tell you that.
This is what's so interesting because there's so many different ways we can take this conversation. One is I think this is so fascinating and so powerful because, like you, I think I'm really thankful our generation and other generations are bringing mental health in this conversation so much into light.
Yeah,
And I think having auxiliary sources for something that's as expensive as therapy is amazing. I think there's so much value to talking to a human person, which I do. I'll be
yeah. If I could
I
chime
should.
in there as well, I think it's good supplementary, because
Yeah.
it's not like I don't want to be like it can replace a therapist, because like, that's ultimately you still need something human in your life. And I think the combination of human guidance
Mm.
in uh tandem with the
Yeah, absolutely.
ChatGPT is fantastic.
Absolutely, man. Because here's what I think about. So knowing that you have a call scheduled with a human person to prepare things that are really weighing on you or things that you're really thinking about, I think is
Yeah,
great. I think it is also awesome to have both this on-demand assistant that if Matt's really in his head and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and he can't sleep, he can pop it open and talk to it. Like your
yeah.
therapist isn't going to pick up the phone; they're not going to be able to. They shouldn't. They've got
They
lives,
should
they've got
not. Yeah,
families, but I think it's really cool. I think you can increase your rate of personal growth by using both tools in tandem. I think you're totally right. I think there's something missing with the soul path of the AI element, which I think is going to get, weirder and more sophisticated. And
yeah. It will.
yeah.
It will. But
So yeah, man, tell me a little bit more about how you would coach somebody or train somebody. So I came to you. I had no idea how to set up like a therapist or a life coach in an AI. And I say, Matt, dude, should I use ChatGPT? Should I use Claude? Should I use Gemini? Like, am I starting a project? Am I doing a custom GPT? Do I just start having a conversation and see where it goes? Like, if I was just fresh to you saying all this, how would you coach me through that? What would you tell me to include? Would I need personality test stuff? Like, what would I be
yeah,
walking
so
through the
you'd
process?
want to know, you wanted to know, one, how to talk to you, so you can choose what tone. It's kind of like defaulted to be very supportive and kind. And if you really need a decision on things, you can ask it to be a little bit more honest with you. And maybe not honest as much as like direct, I think is a better word. That way you don't tiptoe around things. I would let it know what your goals are, for sure, because you got to go somewhere. And so, if you're going to create a therapist from scratch, let it know where you want to be, because it can get you there from there. I have my challenges programmed into there. Uh, that way it's familiar with them when it comes up, like, hey, I'm dealing with this. Like, oh, classic. Yep, we've done this before.
Classic.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, anything you can let it know about you is good. So for me, personality test, that's like data that I could have. And that's
Mhm.
strengths finders test, which is great. It knows I'm a context person or a strategic mindset. And it can remind me, okay, this is your strategic mind doing this right now. I would put in um the background of who you are if there is like an event in your life that shaped you,
Mhm.
and that kind of is your lens for seeing the world, then include that. Um, and what your job is, I'll put that in there because that's a big part of your life. Who people are close to you, your relationship status. If you got kids, um, just really just things that you would want somebody to know about you, like kind of going into your first day with talking to somebody, if it's a life coach or what have you, or just a friend or someone at your church or whatever, like what you they need to know about you to see how you operate in the world and where you want to go. Context.
That's awesome. Dude, you're totally right. I don't know. I think you and I may have spoken about this before, but one of my favorite prompt frameworks to use with any of the AIs now is tell it what I'm trying to accomplish or tell it what I need its help with. And then I'll ask it. So say like, hey, ChatGPT, I need help with accomplishing fill in the blank, or I want you to act as my personal therapist. What information do you need from me so that you can do that to the best
Yeah.
of your abilities? And I've heard a lot of other people talk about this, and it will spit out like, I feel like average I will see is like 15 questions, and there'll be like 3 or 4 micro questions, like bullets underneath. Like it gives you a lot. And that's something that I would mention to anybody using this for whether it be for work or building a personal life coach or work consultant, or sidekick of some kind for any kind of project would be to tell it what you're trying to do and then
Yeah.
ask it what it needs from you to do it. And I think, man, you really nailed it there with the just it needs so much context and background on you to help you with such like personal things. Like you and I were talking about before the call, like gosh, navigating conflict in like work relationships or friendships or like
Yeah.
romantic relationships or like another thing I've used it for in my personal life is gaining perspective from people of just like, hey, I'm in, the situation with a friend or whatever. I'm thinking this. I want help analyzing their perspective and what they might be thinking in this scenario too. And then
Yeah.
it becomes this amazing self and others awareness tool, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's good for helping you understand yourself and the other side of things. And if you're communicating to somebody via text of some sort, then you have that time to kind of run it through and soften things up a little bit. It can see where they're coming from. Like, dude, I like all the time. I love the image feature on ChatGPT. I send it things all the time because, like, I don't know, I'm a doofus in this world. Like, what's this? Can you help me, please? So like, yeah, I use that all the time, but I'll send it like I'll take screenshots of text people send me and I'll pop it in there and be like, hey, what do you think's going on here? This is how I was thinking about responding. What do you think? And I typically do not like take whatever it just spits out and just send that to people because
Mhm.
you know, I always have to make some edits and a lot of times it's a lot of edits and that goes back to like how to use AI is like I think of it's a little pretentious, but I think of AI like clay and I'm the potter, like I am working the clay. I did not make the clay, but I am moving the clay and it's
Mhm.
spinning and I am molding it and together we co-create the pot. That's the way I see AI. And so it's a lot of edits and then like a lot of context behind those edits. So I want you to do like it'll say something like, okay, no, I do not want to do that because of this. And I'll sound that way. And then there's this background info that I did not tell you yet about that. And so that's sort of a thing. But I'll send a text from people and then have it and we'll work on a response together and it'll help you gain insight into them and into yourself.
I think that's so interesting, man. Are you, because I'm using it, I think, in a very similar way, and you might be doing the same thing here. I've started just in the last month, maybe, of where it'll give me the output of something, like like a blog or a LinkedIn post or an idea or whatever. And then I'll make the edits and I'll feed it back the edit. And I'll say, hey, take note of these changes because this is closer to my style. So you can remember this in the future. Are you actively coaching it? So like it'll draft a text and then you'll give it back and just be like, hey, by the way, these are the things that I changed. These are why I changed them. So you can remember it for the future.
You know, I'm doing that in my own way, but I'll say honestly, I don't do it in that way.
Okay.
I can see that being a very Jack way to work with AI for sure. Especially as much writing as you do, you have to keep that your voice in everything you do. So
Mm,
I'm more of an editor for context
hmm.
and phrasing and wording versus letting it know my style as much in the return prompts. I'm more of a goal oriented editor, I think.
Yeah, sure. That makes a lot. And dude, you know what's really funny? Actually, this is probably pretty humbling to me to think about. Not that I thought that this was a smart thing to do. It was just something I was trying. I was like, hey, maybe it'll get me better if I do this. But I started to think too, not long after I was doing it, I was like, I wonder if it's just intuitively picking up on this because I will
Yeah,
feed it back a lot of my changes afterward and say, hey, here's my final draft. Can you just like make sure to fix any like grammar or punctuation mistakes I have made?
yeah,
And maybe it is passively picking up on like, oh, this is what I had. This is what he gave me. This is kind of his style. I think that's a really interesting use case there. You know, man, one thing that I want to ask you about, and I know this is something everybody's talking about, is especially with us as marketers, I think, and writers and creative people, both of us are musicians. And I feel like that kind of gives us this interesting perspective of this thing that's like the ultimate creative Archimedes lever that we've been given. What do you kind of see for changes in, gosh, man, marketing, the workforce? Do you think anybody knows what they're talking about? Or like people are just making blind guesses and throwing things at the wall to like get clicks with some crazy headlines like AI is stealing our
yeah,
job. 5 things you need to know.
yeah. Okay, I have thoughts on that for sure. Um, I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. Like this is way too unprecedented. Um, it- this technology and how quickly it's moving. So, um, I have a lot to say, and I'll just start talking. I
Yeah, go
think
for it, man.
first of all, humans will always be needed for something because, like, you need those skills. People don't want to talk to robots all the time, so you know, to keep developing your people skills in tandem with the AI is probably crucial. I think this technology is moving too quickly and it's compounding on itself, right? Like, you know, like when you roll a snowball down the hill, like that's a pretty big snowball already. It's not just going to keep growing at the same rate it was. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so now that you have all this data, we're training the models too. Like we're the guinea pigs as well. We think we're just the users that are reaping the benefits, but it's training off of us and it's taking all of our data and getting smarter. And so we don't know what's in the future. I mean, I don't even know if Sam Altman knows what's in the future, and he's doing the stuff, you know. But like, it is it it's equally terrifying as it is exciting, in my opinion, because like I envision like watching TV instead of like just watching something already made. Like you can sit there and like maybe your kids are watching a children's show. You know, like when you were watching like Blue's Clues growing
Hmm.
up,
Hmm.
and it was like a clue, where? And then you just like you point it out, and then it would
Yeah.
go there, or like
Yep.
you could tell Steve to go in the dining room, he'll just go in there, or you can tell Steve to tell you a joke, and then he will. So it's like interactive TV that you're in control of.
That's super interesting, man. That's it.
Yeah,
This is the first take I've heard of this on entertainment of like turning live entertainment, potentially like taking it into an interactive curve. Like you'd almost
yeah,
branch away from where the commercialized show is going. And then
yeah.
this new show gets created.
Well, think about it. You already have video generation. You
Yes.
already have audio generation.
Hmm.
You have music generation, and you have the intelligence and interactivity of you know, the models already. So
Hmm.
like we have all these things already. The only thing that's lacking is more training and infrastructure. Because in order
Mhm.
to do, how long it takes to produce like 10 seconds of footage off of uh so what's that? What's ChatGPT's Sorta or something like that?
Sora, I think so.
Sora, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think so.
You know
Yeah.
how long it takes to do Sora?
Yeah.
Like, and then how many trees are having to throw on the fire and burn and all the coal and the steam and whatever scary environmental things
A
are
lot of
going on.
industry behind prompting. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then there's that whole headline where Sam Altman said like saying please and thank yous like killing the trees and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Disney like, "Hey, look, it's nice. You wanna be nice to the robots,
Yeah,
but stop saying please and thank you. It's burning energy."
yeah, which is wild.
Uh,
But all that's already there. So
mhm.
and there'll be a time where you can be like, hey Alexa, play me an original song that involves like drinking coffee on a horse and make it sound like a country song. And then it
Mhm.
will just do it. Um, and like that's coming so soon. And I don't know how we're going to deal with the impact of all of that.
Mhm.
But and I even asked ChatGPT itself, like, "Hey, look, I love you, but I'm also terrified of you. Like, this seems like." Because I'm imagining like little guns walking around too with AI in them that the government deploys, and like they know who
Yeah.
all of us are, and there's cameras everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I just see that like dystopia like as totally possible, and it just said, like you can only control yourself, you know. So I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that's not wrong.
That was what it came back with for advice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really funny. It's like
yeah,
it's like, "Matt, shh, shh, don't worry while I take over. Just relax. Just have
yeah,
a good time."
yeah, it's gaslighting me into not worrying,
Oh
but,
my gosh, that's great.
uh, it's right, you can only control yourself, so, I'm just trying to stay hip
Mhm.
and, be at peace with myself, and yeah,
I think
who
you're
knows, man? It's just
yeah.
again, I'm just that compounding is just gonna get insane, like, it's just gonna like, that digital revolution, that AI revolution is gonna be like, because it's thinking for itself, man, we don't even need to think for it anymore. It's gonna be
Mhm.
crazy.
I know, man. It's like it's like literally getting to the point where we're going to wake up and the world or your computer or the internet or social media might look like a totally different place. Like in a day.
Yeah.
Like that's what real crazy exponential growth look like. And then you think about the merging of all this with like the breakthroughs we're starting to see in robotics too. Like
Yeah.
we are getting into, and I don't think either one of us probably thought this when we were kids, right, man? Like we watch sci-fi movies, we're like, dude, Star Wars, this is so cool. Like
Yeah.
Terminator, this is crazy and scary. But I don't think any of us were thinking, in the 90s and early 2000s, like, oh yeah, like that we could be living part of this as our reality.
I didn't expect it as soon as it came, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Um, someday, again, like, it's been a crucial part of my development this year,
Hmm.
just as a person in general to have that bouncing board to work with, but, I didn't expect it to come this fast, and some days I do just miss the old days of Facebook and YouTube being just like it, like, you can go poke your friend, like
I
like
forgot about folks, man. Yeah, you'd
yeah,
watch one video on YouTube, and that would be your friend's entire like comedy script for a full year off of like one
yeah.
or two goofy videos. Yeah.
Yeah, those are great times, man. And your feed wasn't just flooded with like this is going on an anti-Facebook rant, but I hate Facebook, man. How it just throws all this stuff that you don't follow anymore, like the non-social part of social media. You have to click an actual button. Um, you have to click an actual button to actually see only your friend stuff. Have you noticed that?
No, I'm hardly on there, but that does not
Yeah.
surprise me. That is wild.
Yeah, it's all just like because everything's a TikTok now,
Mhm.
It's just all vertical videos and just BS everywhere. Just garbage, 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 garbage. And then you hit your friend button and like, oh, these are the people that I follow, but they're all sharing garbage too, man. I think the decline of Western civilization was the invention of the share button on Facebook, and
Oh my
I could talk a long time on why that was such a terrible thing for us and why anything exists the way it does now because of that share button. Um, but what were we talking about?
Dude, I love this. No, I think you need to write a long, ranty blog post or newsletter on what you said, and then I want to bring you back for when we do round two, and I want to hear you go off on how the share button on Facebook. Dude, Western Civilization. Yeah, we were just talking about different kind of predictions and if people actually know what's going on. What do you think are some positive things? Because I think it's good to look at all sides. I think it's good to look at like, hey, here are some serious consequences that could be brewing. Here's kind of like a middle of the road view, and then here's some of the net positive outcomes we're seeing in like the short term. So like, what are some of the more short term positives and midterm positives even that you
Oh,
see?
positives?
Yeah, positives.
Okay.
I mean, we've talked about a lot of them, like the personal
Yeah.
this for $20 a month is crazy on top of all the other things it can do. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man, I was about to spew out so much more negatives at you, but
I mean, you
I'll
can
reel
if you want, man. Go for it. You can go on
I'll
negative if
reel
you
that in.
want. Yeah.
I would say advancement in medicine.
Mm.
Um, they were able to uh these guys won a Nobel Prize in science this past year for sequencing a finding all these genome information that wouldn't have been possible without ChatGPT. So that's cool. I think medicinal stuff of curing a lot of diseases. Even just like telling me like what to do, what supplements to take and things like that, for my whatever I got going on. And um I think just always having something to answer your problems is great. I think a bunch of annoying work will be solved now. Like, I have so much annoying stuff just solved now for me, and I still find ways to get annoyed. Like it's amazing that like I have to sometimes sit and think like, okay, I have a house that has air conditioning, I have TV, internet, and I don't have to type fast anymore because I got AI. So, like what's to complain about if you think about that, right?
Sure,
So
sure.
I think I think a lot of good's going to come of it. I think a lot of people are going to feel like they're their best selves because of it, having what they lack. Maybe you lacked a certain parental role in your life, and you can kind of have something play that role. Oh, dude, you can make. This is kind of too weird for me, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. But
There's
like,
nothing
if you
too
can
weird.
actually
Just go for it, man.
go in and create like a custom GPT that's just like your mom or your dad or like your dead grandfather or something like that. And just like, hey, you you are this. This is, what you were like. These are things that you said. This is how you talk to me. Sometimes when I'm sad, I want to talk to you again. I miss you. So do you mind just role playing as that? And it'll do it for you. And
Mhm,
you can even give it an old person voice, probably. I've never tried it, but like,
mhm.
you tell it to alter its voice to be old, and then that way you have like a whole thing. Or I mean, they're even well, hell, the technology is already there. Like there's like a basketball announcer they brought back to life with AI.
Oh, I think I heard about this. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They paid his family and they gave him permission, and so um
License his likeness or license his voice. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you could even get like you put you take some home movies of a deceased relative, and then like man, it might be pretty creepy because you get to that uncanny valley, where like things are cool until they get like too real, where it's just not real enough and it freaks you out. Kind of like the
Mhm.
way Polar Express looked, those guys with their dead eyes,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
uncanny valley. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but you'll be able to bring people back to life, not the real people, but like their
Mhm.
likeness. And if that's what you're into and you need that to like soothe some part of your soul, then like, that technology is there. So, um, but being content creators at the same time, like it's also troublesome. Like, man, am
Mhm.
I like all these skills I learned how to do? Like, it just is it worthless now? Like, and what jobs will be safe? And then will people even want to talk to humans in the future? Because what if I'm getting on the scary part again?
Go
What
for
because
it.
right
Yeah.
now you trust humans, right? Because they're more trustworthy than the computers. But what if you get to the point where you can program computers to be more trustworthy than humans? And then do you care about your fellow man anymore? And the answer, I don't know. I don't know. And
No.
then once they get the humanoid robots going on, they're making those weird robots right now that, like, I don't know
Mhm.
where the future's heading, Jackie, but like, you know, right now I'm happy that I have someone I can talk to and work on my stuff with and my songs. And if I could stop it right here, man, like as bullish on AI as I am, like just because of like how like unsettling the progression
Mhm.
is,
Mhm.
I would just end it. All right, guys, you're going too far. Let's keep it here. We have all the knowledge of the world ever at our fingertips. We can
Yep.
talk to it. It can talk back. Like, let's chill. What more do we
We
need?
can just stay here. We can just keep all
Yeah.
the models like at the place that they're at. Yeah.
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 This is great, I don't know what the future's gonna look like. It's gonna look weird, man. But I think, and when it comes to art too, art's a big topic of debate. I think I have a fundamental viewpoint on that as well. Is that like you've always had progression of technology. Obviously, this is crazy, and it takes away a lot of the learning curve that would normally be involved in learning how to do stuff like playing instruments and drawing and learning how to use Photoshop and all these trades. But art will always be human, and art is okay. So you have everybody in the world on a plane. They all have access to the same stuff. And some people do the same thing, like making music, for example, or painting, right? Um, and they all have the same tools available, even if it's technology. But some people just use it in a way because you have this base level of what art is in that particular medium. So we'll go painting again. Like I have an idea of paintings, and then someone paints in a different way with the same stuff. It's like, oh, that's cool. Or like electronic music. We all heard electronic music, but someone makes like some in an interesting sort of a way or incorporates other things, and you like that because it stands out from the rest of the pack. So art will always stand out from the rest of the pack just because it's innately human. And depending on what that is and how it looks, that's to be seen. But I think art will always be art. It'll just be, generations after us doing weird things that will say, back in my day, we had to use pencils, and I don't get that. I don't understand that music. We had good music. We had Justin Bieber and One Direction. Those are good music.
Those were some good pop musicians back in the day.
That's so
Britney Spears.
Man, we had boy bands, and that's where good music died.
Dude, what's so funny, and I think about this a lot in what you just said, is I think a lot of people talk about like this human versus AI thing. And that may very well be what happens. But like I'm like you, and being a music fan and being a musician myself, I think this is so interesting because I'm always trying to draw on like, hey, have we already seen a different version of what we're seeing somewhere? And I think AI is that exponentiated curve in a lot of senses that none of us have seen or experienced, and none of us can know where it's going to go. And then I think there's also some similarities we can draw from. So like 70, 80 years ago plus, like we hardly had like electric instruments really. Like a lot of things were run by acoustics and stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
You had to build the whole hall with the whole amphitheater under very specific acoustic direction so people could hear it.
you absolutely did. And like something like a pipe organ, in a church or a theater or like whatever was really sophisticated. And then we started getting into this era, more recently with like Pro Tools and GarageBand and like some of these other sophisticated softwares that kind of opened up to like, hey, you don't necessarily need to be a musician, but you can punch some buttons and kind of make a melody line on a keyboard using your computer.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, all of these things are really similar. I can see how a lot of people who are like, man, I always wanted to play music, or I always wanted to produce, or I always wanted to be a DJ or make dance tracks or something. But I never picked up the like digital in terms of like I couldn't use my like fingers on guitar strings or whatever. Or maybe I was limited and I couldn't do it. Now I can speak to this piece of software. And if I can articulate the type of emotion I'm going to draw on, or I know enough about time signatures or keys or the music I like, I can kind of see both there, right? Of like, there's this thing in my mind that keeps coming up, which is like, I think that the innovations of all this AI is also going to create a proportional increase in the demand that we want human stuff. Because even when there's robot Post Malone that can go on stage at Coachella, like people are still gonna be like, no, dude, I just want to see like actual Post Malone, like get on stage, and, like rip some songs,
Yeah, I think live music will become more in demand because then you're watching the person do it on stage, and I think acoustic music may make a comeback. I think low tech will make a comeback as well, just because you always need a counter to whatever's hot.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. Well, dude, I really appreciate all of your thoughts on this. I mean, you and I have talked for hours about these tools and stuff, and I just thought it was a great idea to bring all this to a recorded conversation that we could give to other people. The one thing that I wanted to ask you in closing, for anybody who's listening to this who's new to any of these tools, maybe who doesn't use them at all yet, or is like, yeah, I've used ChatGPT or Gemini to write like a couple of work emails. What kind of parting advice would you give them on getting started with this? And maybe work is the best use case, or maybe it's not. Maybe you would give them like personal advice on how to use this after work hours, but what would that be?
Open your mind, because a lot of people have it as like, okay, ChatGPT writes emails and blog posts and social posts. And it's like a words machine,
Mhm.
It's so much more than that. Um, I'm a nerd, right? Like I like old school video games because it makes me nostalgic and happy. And so I got my Pokemon games on my Game Boys,
Yes.
and some of the ones for like the Game Boy XP and stuff got more advanced, where there's all sorts of different like odds of things and styles of things. I'm making spreadsheets and strategies, and I know it's just a creative way to play Pokemon. Like, where can I find this? How do I do this? What percentage of a wild Pokemon carry this? It's like 5%. Like, okay, how many do I have to encounter for this to happen between, roughly? And so, um, it's more than just a words machine. You can ask it problems, you can show it pictures, you can have it decipher things for you. It If you're creative and know how to communicate that, it can be all sorts of things for you. It's really infinite what it can do. So I would just say, um, ditch that idea that it's just for work output,
Mm.
um, and cheating, and that is actually like a interactive tool that you can use to better yourself and others.
Would you guide them more toward this? Dude, that's great advice. Would you guide them more toward one tool over others? And if so,
I've used Copilot. I don't like it as much because we're a Microsoft ecosystem at work, but I still convince them to maintain my GPT
Mhm.
license, which convincing IT sometimes is it's a it's a thing.
Hard sell, dude.
Yeah, hard sell, but luckily they saw my case and have granted me that. And then um, I yeah, I know you're a Claude guy. I've not really used Claude a whole lot, so I rest my case to ChatGPT.
I think that's great advice, man. And yeah, Claude has been good to me for writing. I will say I've gone back to favoring ChatGPT because I think the aggregated memory across chats is like a huge superpower. Like I find myself getting frustrated with Claude now where I just went in yesterday for the hell of it and I was like, "Hey, can you reference like other chats and stuff in here?" Cuz like
Yeah,
Claude, which I think is a good thing, we need this. I think they're a privacy first like platform of like, "Hey, we're going to consolidate the information that you give a project to the project or a chat to the chat," but I find myself getting frustrated because I'm like, man, it's missing all of the context. And ChatGPT has
yeah,
all that. Like I've been using it for
yeah,
2 years and it has all this
yeah,
context where I can just like ask it something like I do similar to you. I built a ChatGPT personal training coach last week. And I
yeah,
personally have had a personal training certification for like 12 or 13 years, but every coach
yeah,
should coach. So I built into it like it knows all my old injuries, it knows my goals, it knows previous goals, like all kinds of like little things that are specific to me. And I do find myself, yeah, I love Claude for writing. I think Claude is an incredible writer. Like, however, they're programming it to write so much better than the other models, I think is really fascinating to me. But in terms of context, I find ChatGPT I'm starting to use for writing more just because now I
yeah.
have so much coaching data of my writing aggregated across chats. It's starting to get me a little better and faster. But yeah, man. So, anyways, didn't need to rope in all that.
Well,
But
speaking of custom GPTs, though,
yeah.
I did make one for work, and that's been a lifesaver because you and I worked together on that. I
Mhm.
handed you that.
Super cool, by the way,
'Cause-
man.
yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So I call it the Aero Rider. I work at Aeroseal, and it has our brand documents all uploaded into it. It has tone, perplexity, and burstiness, which is like cadence. Like perplexity is more words, and
Mhm.
burstiness is more punch. And
Mm.
I have the balance of that in there. I have our audiences. We have various different audiences we sell to with various different products. I have the products in there. I have the background of the company in there. So for like social posts and what we do, that's important to have in there.
Mm.
And I have what we're trying to do. and the tone of which to speak, and it learns with me as well. And so I'd recommend anybody who has a job to you know perhaps think about having a custom GPT, or find someone that can make one for you, because the difference is between the out of the box GPT. It's like, yeah, you can tell a little bit about you, but it doesn't have your brand style guide programmed into it. It doesn't have like your audiences pre-programmed into it. What it will do, it'll look at your website and actively guess and pull what's there, which it can hallucinate sometimes when in doing that. But if you have it all in that document already and programmed the way you need it to do, who you're trying to give it to and reasons why, and then whatever else you want to put in there, uploading those brand style guides too is huge, because you can pull from that. That makes a huge difference in your workplace, even just from using, like, open up ChatGPT, do what you want. Even because people say like, I have memory in it and it knows me, but like, man, it knows you once you create a custom one.
Oh, yeah, of course, man. And for anybody who's listening to this, I think you brought up such an incredible point. Going back to context. You're giving it brand guides. You're giving it
Yeah.
it sounds like a sliding scale between perplexity, like wordiness, basically, and like burstiness or like punchier. You're giving it like audience data. It knows about your products. It knows about your services. It knows about, like, I'm sure what you guys are involved in. Everything you guys do for like the benefit of the environment and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. Like, yeah, I think that's really important for everybody to know is when you train something, you can't just give it when you train a custom GPT, you can't give it a couple sentences and expect it to know what to do. I started thinking about this analogy recently, man. I don't know if I told you this, but how the modern like beginner user uses ChatGPT is like you walk into the biggest, greatest like chef's kitchen of all time, and you have access to all the greatest chefs in modern history. And they have everything you could want in the pantry and fridge or whatever. And then most like simple users walk in, they're just like, can you just make me some breakfast? And it's like, what do you think they're going to make you? I mean, they could scramble some eggs. They could make hollandaise sauce. They could do all kinds of stuff. You have to be really specific in what you like, what you want. Like, what's your palate? What do you typically have? What do you hate that it should absolutely leave out? And I hope
Ask it to ask you questions too. Not that people do that.
Yes, you're totally right.
And then if it doesn't have any questions, tell it to have questions, because it'll have questions.
It will have questions for sure. For sure. Well, dude, I think that is a great place to wrap, man. I really appreciate you hopping on, talking about all this. Man. I know this will be the first of many conversations. We've already had so many, they just haven't been recorded. And yeah, Matt, thank you so much for everything. Like Matt said, use promo code Matt at checkout everywhere for 10% off on any URL, on any website. See if it works.
Yeah, any URL. I have a lot of friends on the internet.
Well, thanks again, Matt. I appreciate you. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. See you, Jack. Always a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
See you, buddy. Same to you, man. Thank you.
See ya.
See you, pal.
Thanks for hanging out and listening to this episode of It Pays to Write. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit follow or subscribe. And if you could take a couple of seconds to drop us a positive review, this is a huge help for us so that we can continue to help others by helping them find the show. And if you're ready to level up your writing and AI skills, make sure to grab my free AI writing roadmap. I created a totally free 5-day action and information-packed email course designed to take you from a casual AI user to an AI wizard and a digital writing rockstar in just 5 days. You can sign up now at aiwritingroadmap.carrd.co. That's aiwritingroadmap.carrd.co. See you next time.